If you're hearing this before the timer hits 0, maybe you can stop it. I can see the red digits pulsing on my laptop screen from across the rooms. 0 hours, 14 minutes, and 22 seconds. 0 hours, 14 minutes, and 21 seconds at a heartbeat I don't own. The glow paints the walls the color of an open wound. I'm sitting on the floor between the couch and the radiator. Knees locked to my chest, whispering into the mic like a thief in my own apartment. I ditched the headset an hour ago, but the phantom weight of it still clings to my temples. It's like a crown that won't forget me. The fridge hums its ordinary, faithful song. Pipes knock with the dull rhythm of an old building. But there's another knock, a softer one. It keeps finding the silence between my breaths. Knock. Knock. It isn't at the door. I've already checked 3 times, with a knife trembling in my fist. It's coming from inside walls. Ceiling. The sound slides, never landing in one place long enough for me to chase it. I keep thinking about the last screen I saw before I ripped the headset off. A corridor that looked exactly like my hallway, except darker, stretched longer, lined with doors that breathed in and out. One of them opened just as I screamed myself awake. But I never told the game to quit. The city beyond my window is alive with Friday night noise sirens, a drunk singing off-key, someone's bass thudding through concrete. All those people, laughing and shouting, living in a world that still makes sense. I want to believe I'm still in that world too. Except my shadow keeps flickering like bad video compression whenever I move. I've unplugged everything router, console, even the damn fridge for a minute, but the countdown keeps bleeding across the dark screen. It wasn't there before. I didn't start at 0 hours, 11 minutes, and 47 seconds. The knocking changes pitch, almost curious, like it knows I'm recording. Maybe that's the point. Maybe it needs you to listen. My phone vibrates against the hardwood, face down. No notification. Just a single word pulsing on the black screen when I dare to flip it over. Continue. I drop it and it slides farther than it should. Like the floor wants to keep it. I tell myself this is adrenaline. That the game was some elaborate ARG, but I can still smell the ozone temps from the headset. And every time I blink, I catch a flash of that hallway's impossible geometry behind my eyelids. There's another knock closer now. Like a finger tapping the inside of my skull knock. If I make it to 0, maybe the door in the game opens here. Maybe that's how it steps through. I don't know. What I do know is this. Someone else has to hear it. Someone has to know before the timer dies. 0 hours, 9 minutes, and 1 second. If you're still with me, don't pause. Don't look away. And for the love of whatever's left of reality, don't answer if you hear that knock where you are. Asterisk. You've probably never heard of Substrate a hand after this. You'll wish you hadn't. 2 nights before the countdown began, life was still the kind of boring I used to mistake for safety. Campus was wrapped in that late winter chill that makes every dorm hallway smell like radiator dust and stale ramen. My biggest worry was whether the vending machine downstairs would finally eat my last dollar. I was half buried in a hoodie and a cloud of leftover midterm fatigue when the Discord ping came through. Greater than Wraithwire. Yo, check this build. Fresh off a locked repo. Dev went dark. Plays like lucid dreaming on steroids. DM for link, I should have ignored it. I don't even know. Wraithwire in real life, just another avatar who trash talks me in Valorant lobbies. But the phrase locked repo lit up the part of my brain that still thinks I'm a cyberpunk hero. Curiosity is basically my worst habit right after energy drinks and skipping lectures. Another mystery file? You're gonna fry your brain, came a voice from the kitchenette. That was Caleb, my roommate, and the closest thing I have to an off switch. He leaned against the doorframe with a slice of cold pizza, hair sticking up like static had adopted him. It's a game, I said, tilting my laptop toward him so he could see the dark link. Probably some unfinished indie project. Or, he countered, chewing slowly for dramatic effect, a government PS op. Remember the frog maze thing last semester? People swore it rewired their dreams. I rolled my eyes. Please. If the CIA wanted to melt my neurons, they'd just use finals week. Still, Part of me liked the sound of it rewired their dreams. The link was a simple .zip. No fancy site, no credits. Just the word substrata in stark white letters. Minimalist or ominous. Sometimes there's no difference, I clicked, while the download crawled. Caleb wandered over, leaving greasy fingerprints on my desk. What's it even about? No clue. That's the fun, I shrugged. Could be a rhythm game. Could be an interactive spreadsheet. I live for mystery spreadsheets. He laughed, low and disbelieving. Bro! One day you're going to pull something that eats your hard drive and start sending love letters to the NSA? Romantic, said. Maybe they'll write back. Our dorm buzzed with the regular soundtrack of other people's lives. Muffled music. Someone laughing too hard at a meme. The faint hiss of a shower down the hall. The normalcy was thick enough to feel permanent. The file finished downloading with a chime so ordinary it almost disappointed me. Inside the folder, a single executable icon, a plain black square. No readme, no patch notes. The kind of thing that would make an IT professor faint. Perfect. Caleb peered at the screen. That's not creepy at all. Just a black hole for an icon. Totally safe. Exactly, I said, double-clicking. What's the worst that could happen? He raised an eyebrow. Famous last words. I called dibs on your GPU when it explodes. While the installer ran, I fetched 2 cans of the neon green caffeine sludge we called dinner. The fridge light flickered when I opened it, just a bulb dying. Nothing worth remembering, though I do now. We toasted 2 brilliantly bad decisions and cracked them open. The hiss of carbonation like a starting pistol. The setup was bare bones. A single prompt to allow full sensory access. With yes already highlighted, Caleb whistled. Full sensory. What does that even mean? Probably marketing, I said, though the phrase tickled the back of my neck. VR needs permissions. It's fine. I clicked yes. The screen went black, then displayed 1 line of text in a clean, cold font. Welcome to Substrata. Find the door. No tutorial. No menu. Just that. And for reasons I still can't explain, a grin stretched across my face like I'd been waiting my whole life to read those words. Caleb nudged me. See? Totally not sketchy. Yeah, I said, though the room felt a shade quieter, the hum of the radiator somehow sharper. Totally. I remember thinking how normal everything was. Pizza crusts on the counter. The faint echo of a distant party. Ordinary. Safe. The last night I would ever use those words without hesitation. Asterisk. The headset settled over my face with a quiet click, and the world snapped into something far sharper than my dorm room. Most VR games start with a grainy loading screen. A bit of lag, maybe a dizzy moment while your brain adjusts. Substrata opened like a dream. I'd already been having perfect focus from the first instant. I stood in a forest that wasn't a forest so much as the idea of one. Every pine needle defined like a 4K confession. The damp soil glistening as though the earth itself had a pulse. When I breathed, cold air filled my lungs, crisp enough to bite. I could smell pine sap and distant rain. VR doesn't do smell. At least it's not supposed to. Okay. This is ridiculous, I muttered, flexing my fingers. They obeyed with flawless latency, even the slight tremor from the energy drink buzzing in my bloodstream. Somewhere in the branches above, a bell chimed, 3 slow notes that trembled like glass. The sound didn't echo. It rippled, as if the whole world were a lake and someone had dropped a stone. A path curved ahead, gravel crunching realistically under my sneakers. I hadn't calibrated footwear, but here it was, each stone distinct beneath my virtual soles. I crouched, touched the ground. Pebbles shifted with a soft, convincing scrape. My fingertips tingled. Then a voice thin as a paper cut brushed my ear. Level 0 ends when you notice the door. I spun. Nothing. Just the forest breathing in the wind. Caleb, you messing with the mic? I asked aloud, forgetting he couldn't hear me inside the game. No HUD, no menu. Only the path I walked. The forest responded like it knew me. Birds paused mid-song as I passed, heads cocked toward me as if weighing my worth. Sunlight filtered through needles, warm on my shoulders, warm. I pulled the headset up just enough to feel the difference and nearly dropped it. The same warmth lingered on my actual skin. Sensory bleed-through? Not possible. Level 0 ends when you notice the door. The whisper came again, fraction louder, threading through the rustle of leaves. Door where? I called, my voice swallowed by perfect acoustics. The path opened onto a clearing. At its center stood a single figure, a child-shaped silhouette of static. Like bad VHS, it turned its head toward me. "Hey," I said, forcing a laugh. "Cool graphics. Who's your character designer?" The figure cocked its head. Then, clear as day, it spoke my name. My real name, not my gamer tag. Not even the one tied to my email. My legal name. I froze. "How do you level 0 ends when you notice the door?" It interrupted. The words both mechanical and intimate, like a lullaby coded in binary. A breeze cut through the clearing, cold enough to raise goosebumps under my hoodie. Except it wasn't just in the game, I felt it against my actual skin, sharp and damp. "Nope," I whispered, heart hammering. "That's not normal." The figure lifted an arm and pointed past me. I turned. The forest blurred for a heartbeat, pixels smearing like wet paint, then reformed. Between two trees stood a door. Ordinary, wooden, out of place as a coffin in a playground. I stepped closer. The door had no frame, just hung there in the air, dark grain etched with faint runes that rearranged themselves when I blinked. The smell of pine was suddenly overpowered by something metallic, blood and wet iron. My hand twitched. Forward, the whisper came again. Urgent now. Level 0 ends when you notice the door. I yanked the headset up to escape the smell, and saw the same door, faintly glowing against the far wall of my dorm room. Just for an instant, like an afterimage burned on my eyes, my stomach lurched. I tore the headset off entirely. Darkness. The game didn't pause or fade. It cut, total blackout. The only sound was my own panicked breathing. "Caleb?" I shouted. No answer. I ripped the cables free, heart racing. My laptop screen was black, except for a single icon that hadn't been there before. A small, pulsing square labeled substrata, embedded like a parasite on the desktop. I tried to drag it to the trash. It wouldn't move. The forest smell still clung to my clothes. I woke to a ping that didn't belong to any app I own. No headset. No laptop running. Just the gray dawn leaking through our blinds and that sharp digital chime, clear as a drop of glass. My phone lit up on the nightstand. One notification. Sender unknown. Timestamp 3:03 a.m. except the lock screen reads 7:26. The message contained only 3 words. "You're still logged in." I stared until the letters seemed to blur, then blinked hard. When I unlocked the phone, the notification was gone. No record. No number to call back. Across the room, Caleb snored beneath his mountain of blankets. The smell of pine clung faintly to the air conditioner's hiss, as if the forest from the game had crept in while we slept. Morning routine. Instant coffee. Hoodie. Half-hearted scroll through news. Everything felt almost normal, except each mundane detail sharpened like a high erase rendered the hiss of the kettle. The grain of the countertop on the walk to class, the sky had that pre-storm bruise color. Streetlights flickered in rhythmic bursts, 3 quick flashes, then dark. I counted out of habit. Each pause lined up with my heartbeat. A woman at the crosswalk glanced my way and whispered something that sounded like level 0, though traffic swallowed the rest. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe back at the dorm after lectures. Caleb ambushed me with a half-empty bag of chips. "Dude," he said through a crunch. "Your game was playing last night?" I stopped mid-step. "What?" "Yeah." I got up for water around 3 and heard the headset. Forest sounds. Birds or something? "I thought you were pulling an all-nighter." "I was asleep," I said. Headsets unplugged. He shrugged, chips crackling. "Well, it wasn't in my head." Unless I'm hallucinating crunchy ASMR, I forced a laugh, but my stomach tightened. I hadn't told him about the text. That evening, another ping. Laptop this time. I flipped the lid to a black screen except for a single white line pulsing like a cursor. You're still logged in. I closed it. The glow lingered on the inside of my eyelids. Caleb wandered in, headphones around his neck. Man, you look like you've seen a ghost. Just tired, I lied. He pointed at the laptop. Thought you shut that thing down? Screen's on. Fine, I said, snapping it shut again. The hum of the radiator rose a notch, like it disapproved. Days blurred into uneasy routine. Coffee runs, classes, late-night study sessions, all invaded by subtle glitches. My reflection in store windows lagged a fraction of a second behind. The vending machine ate my coins and spat out a black square of nothing before rebooting to normal. People started to look. Staged a barista asked my order before I opened my mouth, repeating it in a voice that didn't quite match her smile. Level 0 ends when you notice the door. A child's voice whispered from somewhere near the espresso machine. I dropped my cup. Nobody else reacted. That night, I dreamt in pixels. The forest again, deeper now, branches knitting into cathedral arches. A door glowed ahead, pulsing to the rhythm of the same ping that woke me. When I touched the handle, my alarm yanked me back. Caleb was already up, scrolling through his phone. Bro, you were talking in your sleep, he said. Kept saying, don't open it. Creepy as hell. I rubbed my temples, the phantom scent of pine sap heavy in my nose. My phone buzzed once more. Screen blank. Then, faint and fleeting. Aye. A single phrase appeared in the corner like a glitching subtitle. Still playing, it vanished before I could blink. Asterisk. Swore I wouldn't touch the headset again. I meant it. Right up until the night the doorbell chimed on my laptop. Not a ping this time, a doorbell. Low and resonant, like someone pressing a finger into my skull. The black substrate icon pulsed a slow heartbeat of white. Beneath it, new text faded in. Level 0 awaits. Caleb was at a late study group. The dorm felt hollow, every creak amplified. I told myself I'd just check the files, maybe uninstall for real. Instead, my hands moved on their own, setting the headset in place like it was claiming me. The world opened with a hiss of pine and rain. I stood once more in the clearing, the phantom cold settling over my skin as naturally as air. No welcome screen, no preamble. Just the doorwooden, free-floating grain, alive with shifting symbols. A whisper, soft but certain, slid through the trees. You came back. I should have ripped the headset off. Instead, I stepped forward. The door's surface throbbed faintly, the runes rearranging into something almost like letters. When I reached out, handle turned before I touched it. A single thought pulsed behind my eyes. Entered to exit. I pushed. Light swallowed me whole. For a heartbeat, I floated in perfect white noise, the smell of rain replaced by the faint scent of detergent and dust. Then shapes emerged. Couch, radiator. Battered desk, my dorm room. Except not. It was too clean. Objected, too precise, every object set at an impossible right angle. Colors a fraction too saturated. The photo of my sister that normally sat on the desk was gone. Replaced by a blank frame. The clock above the kitchenette ticked backward. Okay, I muttered. Forcing a laugh, props for production value. A voice answered from the couch. Like it? I spun. Sitting there was Caleb. Or rather, something shaped like him, eyes shimmering with static. Hoodie perfect, grin a beat too wide. Nice graphics, I said, throat tight. You're an NPC now? He chuckled, a sound almost but not quite human. Finish the level, he said in Caleb's exact voice, or it finishes you. What does that mean? I asked. He tilted his head, the movement jerky like bad stop motion. Rules are rules. I stepped closer, the floor soft beneath my shoes, as if I were walking on memory foam. This isn't real, I whispered. Reality's just high-resolution code, he replied, still smiling. You opened the door. Now the door opens you. The walls rippled like a heat mirage. The photo frame on the desk flickered between empty and an image of me wearing the headset, sitting exactly where I stood. I felt a draft swirl through the room. Smelled the unmistakable temps of our dorm's radiator, but stronger, richer, too vivid to fake. Finish the level, or it finishes you, the not Caleb repeated. Voice overlapping itself in echoing layers until it filled the space like a chant. I backed toward the door, except the door was gone. Panic clawed at my chest. Where's the exit? Static Caleb leaned forward, grin stretching unnaturally. Choose, he said. Choose what? The lights dimmed to a bruised twilight. The radiator's hum deepened into a low growl. Somewhere behind the walls, that knocking returned. Slow and patient. I reached for the headset to pull it off, forgetting, for one vertiginous second, that I was already wearing it inside the game. Fingers meant nothing. Just air. Finish the level, or it finishes you, the voice whispered from everywhere now. Under the floor. Side my skull. Something in me snapped. I screamed, "End game?" The world blinked. I tore the headset away and staggered to the real couch, chest heaving. My dorm swam into focus. Except, it wasn't quite right. The photo of my sister was still missing. The clock above the kitchenette ticked backward. From the corner of the room, Caleb's voice floated out, low and calm. Rules are rules. I spun toward the sound. The couch was empty. The knocking began again, 3 deliberate raps that came from nowhere at all. Morning sunlight should have burned the nightmare away. Instead, it sharpened it. I woke to the sound of the radiator clicking like a metronome. Each tick just a fraction too fast, as if the room had been sped up 1.1x. Caleb was at his desk, but his movements stuttered. Type, pause, rewind a half-inch, type again, like a GIF on a bad loop. Did you just lag? I blurted. He looked over, blinking slow. What? The moment he spoke, the glitch smoothed out. Like reality, pretended it hadn't slipped. Never mind, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. My fingertips came away faintly dusted with static, like the crackle from an old TV screen. Campus life tried to play normal. Afternoon coffee with friends, jokes about midterm disasters, the sweet stink of the student union food court. Yet tiny seams kept splitting. A chair in the cafe flickered between wood and metal when no one was looking. The pattern on the floor tiles stretched and snapped back like elastic. My reflection in the window lagged a beat behind my movements, still smiling after I'd stopped. Sleep deprivation, I told myself. Brains just fried, but my voice didn't sound convinced. That night, I set up a test. If I was losing it, I needed proof. Caleb was at the library, so I rigged my old webcam to record the room while I slept. No headset, no laptop, just me and a silent dare to whatever was stalking my nights. I drifted off to the sound of the radiator's too fast ticking. At 3:07 a.m., I woke with a jolt, heart pounding. The room was still, moonlight spilling across the floor in pale rectangles. I reached for my phone and checked the cam feed. The timestamp read 3:02 a.m., 5 minutes ahead of me, on screen. I watched myself rise from the bed, eyes closed. Sleepwalking isn't new to me, but this was different. My double moved with perfect, deliberate precision. It turned to the corner where the substrata icon pulsed faintly on my powered-off laptop, then looked straight into the webcam. Its mouth opened. Pixels shredded across the screen like tearing cloth. The feed froze on my own face, stretched and glitching. By daylight, the footage refused to play. Every file corrupted except a single still, me, eyes closed. Faint static halo around my head. I uploaded the image to a private forum of tech friends, half-joking. Caption, if any of you have seen code tearing like this outside a screen, DM me screenshots. Replies trickled in. Lol, nice filter. Creepypasta vibes. Teach me that effect. No one took it seriously. But a user named EchoTrace sent a private message. This isn't a filter. Check your walls. I did. Hairline fractures spidered across the dorm paint. But not like normal cracks. They pulsed faintly, an iridescent shimmer like GPU artifacts. I touched one. Cold radiated through my fingertip, colder than plaster should ever be. Behind me, Caleb's voice said, "What are you doing?" I spun. He stood in the doorway, backpack slung over one shoulder, but his outline bled momentarily into the wall, as though the pixels hadn't loaded right. "You okay?" he asked. I stepped back, heart racing. "Yeah, just checking something." He studied me, expression unreadable. For a blink, his eyes flickered with the same static shimmer as the cracks. The rest of the day dissolved into dissonance. Lecture halls warped at the edges, whiteboards bowed inward like funhouse mirrors. A stranger on the quad turned her head a full 90 degrees without moving her shoulders, then snapped back to normal when I blinked. Every sound, footsteps, laughter, even the breeze seemed to carry a faint digital undertone, like an old dial-up modem humming under reality. By sunset, I wasn't sure which world was the simulation anymore. When I returned to the dorm, the substrata icon pulsed on my dark laptop screen, brighter than ever. Text appeared beneath it without a keystroke. "Next level ready." Asterisk, I told myself I'd stay offline. Then I opened the laptop anyway. The substrata icon pulsed like a heartbeat, daring me to click. I ignored it and went hunting. Instead, deep searches, obscure keywords, VR bleed, substrata glitch, reality desync. At first, nothing but game dev chatter and dead links. Then, buried in page 12 of a forgotten forum, post titled, "If you've played, don't sleep." The thread was only a handful of entries, all time-stamped years apart. Every account was deleted. Their words remained, "Greater than the walls breathe at night. You can quit, but it won't." The headset is the invitation. I scrolled faster. Each time I refreshed, older posts vanished, as if someone or something was editing in real time. A final reply blinked into existence. "Contact Echotrace if you want to live." I found Echotrace on a dusty, invite-only Discord server. Their profile picture was a static snowstorm. Status: a countdown stuck at 0 o'clock. I sent a DM. "I saw you in the forum. I need to know what this is." A minute later, a voice call request popped up. Against every instinct, I accepted. At first, only silence. Then a low, modulated voice, genderless, distorted like a tape running underwater. "You've played," it said. Not a question. I didn't mean to. "What is it?" "A virus." "An ARG?" "No." A faint hiss like distant wind through wires. "It's older than that." The headset is the invitation. The game is the door. My stomach nodded. A door to what? "You already know." You opened it. The sound warped, became a chorus of overlapping whispers. I caught fragments, layers beneath layers. Reality is a server farm. It eats unfinished stories. Why me? My own voice trembled, because you notice a pause. It wants an ending. Something clattered on their side, metallic, urgent. Their tone sharpened. "Listen, don't the line cut out?" I tried to call back. No ring. Their entire account evaporated. Username, messages, even the invite link. Discord threw a bland user not found error. The server itself was gone. I stared at the empty screen until my monitor dimmed. The substrata icon reflected in the black. It pulsed once. Twice. Then a chat bubble appeared, where no app was open. Finish the level. Panic settled into a cold, methodical dread. I checked archived pages. Wayback Machine captures every mention of the forum. The posts, even the cached data had been scrubbed. Like the internet itself had rolled back. I wasn't just unlucky. I was being herded. From the corner of the room came a faint mechanical tick. Like the headset humming, though it lay unplugged in the closet. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. No caller ID. Against sense, I answered, a single, whispered phrase slid through the speaker. Familiar and final. It wants an ending. The line died. Outside my window, the city pulsed with ordinary night neon signs, traffic murmurs. But the shadows between the streetlights seemed to still, as if the world was holding its breath. I shut the laptop. The substrata icon still glowed. The update started at 12:01 a.m. I hadn't touched the headset. Laptop lid closed, Wi-Fi off. Still, the substrata icon throbbed brighter than moonlight, a red pulse syncing with my own heartbeat. Text scrolled across the dark screen in crisp white. Patch 1.0 deploying. User cannot decline. My mouse jerked on its own. A soft chime acceptance without my consent. Then blackness. The headset unplugged on the shelf. Exhaled a hiss like a slow breath. I don't remember putting it on. One blink and I was inside. A corridor stretched forever, illuminated by a cold, sourceless glow. The air tasted metallic, like blood on a 9-volt battery. Doors lined each side, old wooden doors, brass knobs dulled with age. Each bore a small brass plate etched with words that seared my brain. Birthday age 7. First kiss. Mom's laughter. The night of the blackout. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Cataloging every memory I thought was mine alone. Behind each door, faint sounds, familiar scents. From Mom's laughter came the smell of cinnamon and the muffled crackle of our kitchen radio. From first kiss, a whiff of cheap strawberry lip gloss and damp spring grass. Childhood warmth seeped from the seams. The hallway itself radiated a colder intent, the floor humming with a low, relentless vibration like the ticking of a countdown I couldn't see, a voice uncoiled from nowhere, intimate as a breath against my ear. Choose one. Save reality. The words echoed, each syllable doubling back on itself like an audio file played in reverse. My pulse thudded. Save it from what? Silence, then the faintest chuckle, sound made of static. I stepped closer to birthday age 7. The doorknob was warm, possibly so, as if the party still raged inside. I almost turned it. Then noticed the door across the hall. The game begins. A memory only days old. If I chose one, would the rest vanish? Would the world outside collapse to match the single memory I preserved? The hallway ticked louder, each beat a nail in a coffin. I moved past the doors, scanning plates. Summer at the lake, grandfather's funeral, first time driving. Each whispered promises, lures of comfort or closure, but the further I walked, the more plates warped. Words twisting into symbols I didn't recognize, jagged runes pulsing faint blue. Behind me, the doors I'd passed began to fade into blank walls. No turning back. A gust of icy air knifed down the corridor. Frost bloomed across the floor, swallowing my footprints. My breath came in visible puffs. But the ticking only quickened. Choose, or it chooses. The voice again, calmer now. Almost kind, I stopped at a door that read Caleb's arrival. From within, I heard his laugh, the exact inflection from the night we first met as roommates. For a second, I pictured him back in the dorm, eyes flickering with static, waiting. If I chose his door, maybe I'd keep him safe. Or maybe I'd trap him forever. I pressed my forehead to the wood. Warmth seeped through, heartbreaking and familiar. What happens if I refuse? The hallway lights dimmed to a hellish red. The ticking became a relentless clatter, like 1,000 clocks falling out of sync. A new whisper slid beneath it. Reality requires a save state. I thought of all the vanishing posts, the corrupted footage, the survivors who disappeared. Maybe they hadn't been silenced, they'd been archived. And maybe this was the only chance to anchor myself. But which memory was truly me? A single moment couldn't hold the weight of a life. My hand slipped from Caleb's door. I backed away until I reached the center of the hallway. Doors receding into an endless vanishing point. The floor vibrated hard enough to rattle my teeth. Splinters of light cracked through the ceiling like spiderweb lightning. The countdown, if that's what it was, hit a frantic, overlapping beat. Faster, faster, I shouted into the void. I don't choose. For a heartbeat, everything froze. Then the doors flared white, every handle turning at once. A rush of sound and scent and memory slammed into me. Birthdays, funerals, lake water, lip gloss, the hiss of static all folding together. An infinite collage. The voice returned, faint and amused. Then it will choose you. Darkness snapped shut like a lid. When sensation returned, I was back in my room. Headset on my face, straps damp with sweat. The laptop screen displayed a single line of text: level complete, saved state, null. Outside, the city was silent. No hum of traffic, no distant sirens. Just a deep, ticking sound that matched my heart. Asterisk if you're still watching. You probably want to know which door I chose? So do I. I woke up on the floor before sunrise, cheek pressed to cold linoleum, the headset nowhere in sight. Not on the shelf, not under the bed, not even a stray cable, just gone. My laptop screen glowed a soft, patient white with a single line of text: saved state, null. At first, I thought I'd beaten it, whatever it was. But when I stood, the room tilted like a camera panning too slow. A motion sickness pull that didn't stop. Morning light leaked through the blinds and washed out pixels. I rubbed my eyes, but a faint, translucent overlay clung to the glass-teeny numbers drifting across the window like a debug HUD. Coordinates, frame rate, a flickering health bar that pulsed with my heartbeat. Outside, the street looked normal. People walking dogs, a courier dropping packages. But every few seconds one of them would pause, body stiff, and deliver a line in a flat NPC cadence. Nice weather today. Don't. Look behind you. Level 0 never ends. Then they'd resume their stroll. Smiling as if nothing happened, I tried to film it on my phone. The footage played back perfectly mundane. No HUD, no strange dialogue. Just me, shaky and pale, breathing too fast. Classes were worse. The professor's PowerPoint glitched with random letters that formed my name. A vending machine whispered the Substrata startup chime when no one was near. Caleb sat beside me, silent, eyes reflecting the faint green of a pause menu only I could see. "Did you hear that?" I asked. "Hear what?" He said, but the words were out of sync with his lips by half a second. That night I searched the room again. Every drawer, every corner, nothing. Yet the faint ticking, the one that had followed me through every level, still echoed. Impossible to locate, as if the air itself carried a countdown. I opened the closet to check. One more time and caught my own reflection in the sliding mirror. A translucent objective marker hovered above my head. Player still logged in. Here's the part that keeps me awake. I remember reaching for a doorknob in that endless hallway. I can still feel the warm brass under my palm. But the memory blurs to static the instant I try to see which door it was. Birthday, Caleb. First kiss? I don't know, and maybe that's the trap. Maybe the choice didn't matter, only that I believed it did. I keep talking into the camera because silence feels dangerous. Maybe you'll hear what I can't, or catch a frame I miss. If you've played you've noticed things bending, leave a comment. Tell me which door you would have opened. Maybe we can map a pattern, or at least warn the next fool who puts on a headset. But listen carefully. If you hear a knock after this video ends, don't answer. It's already chosen you.